With thousands of disabilities affecting Americans, mental disabilities are on the rise in the United States. Autism is also climbing the disability street.
Mental disabilities are skyrocketing in the U.S. Down syndrome is a silent disability.
Adults with Down syndrome are at increased risk of Alzheimer's disease as they grow older. But Alzheimer's disease is not inevitable. There are many other possible issues to consider when concerns about memory arise. So a thoughtful approach is very important. Alzheimer's disease and Down syndrome share a genetic connection, leading to the increased risk of dementia at an earlier age. Understandably, many families and caregivers are especially worried about this possibility. Getting accurate information and education about the risk of Alzheimer's disease is an important way of empowering oneself to prepare for the future.
This is one of these issues where we're looking at it far too narrowly, because if you look at Alzheimer's as our costliest disease, if you look at the return on investment, if you look at the tsunami of cases that we're going to be facing just because of the changing demographics of our country, we can't afford not to make this investment.
People with Down syndrome are like you and I. They're able to have an independent life. There are a lot of increased risk if you have Down syndrome. So there's the risk of heart disease, leukemia, Alzheimer's, and right now there's a lot of study around the correlation between having Down syndrome and having early onset Alzheimer's. So that's kind of a big area of study right now. But the main thing is they're just people like we are, and they deserve to be treated the same as everyone else and to have the opportunities that we all have to be independent. Well, I think overall the federal government and the candidates need to look at human services as a whole, because I think that's the area that often gets cut. And the people, like I said, the people in this population of disabilities are growing. So it really needs, in my eyes, to be really looked at carefully, and money needs to be put in that direction, because I feel personally that it's our responsibility as United States citizens to support the people that are in need in this way. So that's my personal belief, that they really need to go to the budget and look at the health and human services.
House is able to sustain its services from government funding, fundraising and funds raised at the great chefs and wineries, as shown in the Lifehouse Revenue Sources pie chart. The fees we receive for services do not cover our expenses for the programs we provide to over 250 individuals with developmental disabilities in the Bay Area.
I haven't heard much about it when I watched the debates. So I think that it does need to be an issue that needs to be addressed. So.
Well, what is normal exactly? I mean, everyone has their own mind and their head and everything. They do have a mind of a child, but doesn't mean they're not smart. I mean, they are in their own way. Outside, well, when they see you, they can see the face. They may think differently because they're not like. The word for it, I can't think of it. Different.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are afraid of being different. But they shouldn't, because we're all different in our own way.
There is a major emphasis, in addition to focusing on Alzheimer's research, on the brain. The BRAIN Initiative is something that the White House and Congress on a bipartisan basis has been supporting to get these common mechanisms that underlie diseases that range from autism to Alzheimer's. And that kind of basic research is very important to understand what's going on fundamentally in the brain. When it comes to some other diseases, we see a more direct linkage that we understand today. An example of this actually is Down syndrome. Many with Down syndrome develop Alzheimer's disease by the age of about 40. And so figuring out how these two diseases work is what we can learn from one in the context of the other. And there are several studies going on right now about Alzheimer's in those with Down syndrome to better understand the disease, both for those individuals and for those with Alzheimer's in general.
But we constantly talk about, is there anything we can cut back on? What could we, wait and hold off on purchasing? Those are the things we talk about, Jason and I. And we always go over the bills together before he writes the checks, and then his stepdad looks it over again. But yeah, there's times where it's really tight toward the end of the month, receive, but it's becoming increasingly harder year by year to maintain the standards because our funding has not increased. We keep getting cuts. And every year they talk about it, with the budget, they promise that they will look at it. We go to Sacramento and rally, and then nothing happens again. So it's becoming increasingly difficult to maintain our programs so that we can provide the services to the people we support. And it's not just Jason and Down syndrome, it's a lot of other people with disabilities as well. And some of the smaller agencies have had to close, and day programs have had to close because of the budget issue, because they are just not able to maintain, because they don't deserve that. They see us out there with Jason and with our other people we support. They see Jason at Safeway and they think it's great and awesome and we support you, but most of them don't have an idea what the funding entails. And